Okay, what I want to do here, my usual routine, and now it's Wednesday morning already, looking at the most consistent players of fantasy football this week for week 4 and compiling this data here that we see. What I've done this here is not published yet, but coming up, I've already put in the main running backs, top 12 or so, top 10 or 11 perhaps. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 quarterbacks and some wide receivers. I need to get that filled out, along with the tight ends. I'm not sure if I'll do the defenses, but to give you a solid estimation of what is going on with this weekly, as I update, that what this means is that, for example, Gordon at the top this week, San Diego, not only has a great matchup, and the team of the 49ers has a banged up secondary and defense and team altogether. Melvin Gordon is great. He's high. His mean or his average, which is the same, this is on Fanduel, is 22. Above and beyond anybody else that I see here as their game, except Alvin Kamara, on the slate for this Sunday. And then the standard deviation, if you know how to read these numbers, you have to read them different ways and different times. I'm going to place the link on my site at wealthyfantasyfootball.com. But to get into real depth and to understand the process and how it works, you don't have to worry about a lot of things that most experts are looking at necessarily, but it is good to look at those as some of those things as peripheral type numbers. You know, for example, when you look over here, it's on quarterbacks right now, but with targets and rushes and trying to figure out in-game scenarios and all these different factors. Of course, the fantasy football, the Vegas lines, the totals for the teams, defenses are playing matchup-wise, and all these things. It's a lot to consider, but you can fill out the base core of your lineups, and this gets more accurate as time goes on during the weeks coming up. Even though we only have 3 weeks, so I basically just took the 3 averages. I'm sorry, the 1 average by the 3 numbers, of course, and what you get. You type it into the standard calculator. You can find that, Google it, standard deviation calculator, and then if in case you want to do this yourself, do some other additional players besides the players listed here and find out where they're at. The standard deviation does allow for some upside. For example, 6.56 is very good for Gordon. Unbelievably has maintains at this time a low coefficient of variation. I would say an average maybe a 0.5 for standard. As you see, a lot of players, these players are going to normalize later on, 0.17, 0.38, 0.17. There's not going to be normal numbers going forward. So some of these are going to balance out to where the players are not going to be as consistent or have as low of a coefficient variation. I'm talking about variance in numbers, or stay close to the mean of what they're doing. If they vary far away from their mean, then you have probably a high risk player. And like, for example, with Saquon Barkley, his average is also very good, 19.3 standard deviation. This means as far as how much he deviates, only a 1.5 compared to 6.56 for Gordon. That means that he's had a consistent flow of carries, targets, and fantasy points. Is what it equates to. And his coefficient, 0.06, that's going to go up simply because he is going to have a game in which he, if I remember correctly, his numbers are really had 1 game below 20, a little bit below 20 points, and 2 games a bit above 20 points, if I remember correctly. So on the fantasy, FanDuel standard scoring. So basically that means that at some point he's going to have, probably even more likely than having a higher than 20-point game, he's going to have a low game, ebbs and lows. So this number is going to go up to maybe an average, I don't know, a league average, maybe 0.5 or maybe lower, maybe a 0.4, which would make him even more consistent, which would be great. So you just have to learn how to take the next few weeks, come to the site, learn these numbers, go over them, try some of the calculations yourself. Also visit the free fantasy football report I'll place in the description of the link, so you can get that info as well. And it'll also lead you to a bonus of a month free of the draft dashboard to get all these numbers as well to easily look at. You can target players that you want to target. Say if you wanted to exclude Breeze for the week playing the Giants, well, you wouldn't want to do that. If you wanted to exclude, let's say, whoever, well, I don't want to give you a bad example, but you could just click on this, like where Russell Wilson was already excluded, and then you have your core baseline of players that you can put yourself into your core plays and not worry about the chalk or what other experts or people are doing, and to go against that. And so it's not necessarily going against the grain, but it's just coming up with reliable numbers and scenarios. For example, a lot of people last week messed up, including myself, and took Corey Clement for the Eagles, and he only splits time at best, probably a 50-50 split at the running back position. That's not what you're necessarily looking for to fill in one of your running back slots or flex. So be careful with things like that, knowing what their offense runs, that they normally do that anyways. Maybe having known better, or perhaps just had better judgment. So look at all these things here as I'll place these. Like I said, get the free report in the description of the link of the video, and go about getting all this info here by visiting the site wealthoffantasyfootball.com. You could also find the opt-in at the top right of the page to get the report, get the emails. As you get a couple emails a week when I have the updates going on for you. All right. So take care and have a great week in fantasy.